Do you struggle with insecurity, jealousy, clingy behaviors, controlling behaviors, high expectations, a desperate need for reassurance, or perpetual self-blame in your relationship? Or maybe this describes your partner's behavior. If so, you or your partner may be struggling with an anxious attachment style. Anxious attachment is when someone has a deep-seated fear of abandonment, which manifests in clingy and needy behaviors. When someone has an anxious attachment, they tend to see relationships as either all good or all bad. There's no middle ground. In this 10-minute video, we're going to explore the 6 underlying reasons for anxious behavior, including 6 tips on how to compassionately embrace it. Now, by the end of this video, you will be able to identify the 6 signs of anxious behavior in relationships, stop a triggered spiral before it starts with your partner, recover easily from explosive arguments, knowing exactly what your partner needs to hear, and you will know exactly how to love and support your anxious partners so they can start to feel more secure in the relationship. Now, before we dive in, if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Briana MacWilliam, and I am a licensed and board-certified creative arts therapist with more than 15 years in the field, helping adults struggling with insecure attachment go from self-doubting to self-sovereign so they can attract the soul-shaking, passionate partnerships that they want. And I do this using a psycho-spiritual approach to creative arts interventions, which I call the MacWilliam method. The content on my YouTube channel is derived from my online courses, which you can learn more about through the link in the caption of this video. If you would like to learn more about your attachment style, you can take the 4-question quiz. If you like what you see and hear and you want to learn more, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. I put up videos once a week, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Okay, so let's just dive right into it. Now, if you're in a relationship with someone who has an anxious attachment style, here are 6 signs to look out for. Number 1. They are always seeking reassurance and validation. If your partner is always asking for reassurance, it's a sign that they are anxious about the relationship. They may need constant reassurance that you love them, that you're not going to leave them, or that they're good enough for you. Validation is important to an anxious partner because it helps to ease their fears and insecurities about their desirability, their rightness, and their worthiness. They often look to outside sources of affirmation and approval to justify themselves, that they have a right to feel their feelings, to want what they want and need what they need, and even to love who they love. This can often be exhausting for a partner who has a more secure attachment style, as they may feel like they're never doing enough to reassure their anxious partner. Number 2, they're always vying for your attention. Another sign of anxious attachment style is a sort of clinginess and being attention-seeking. This means that your partner may always want to be around you, needing constant physical and emotional closeness. It might look like needing constant text messaging communication throughout the day, wanting to become friends with your friends, prematurely integrating themselves into your family, or putting on a dazzling and seductive performance to entertain and entice you. Anxious folks can also assume their partners are mad at them or getting bored with them if they choose to entertain their own hobbies or passions individually, and then they wind up resenting any requests for private time. Anxious folks also get upset when their partners go out without them and obsessively measure how much time has passed from your last communication. Depending on the intensity of these behaviors, it can lead to a partner feeling suffocated and trapped in the relationship. Number 3, they're prone to jealousy. Jealousy is another common sign of anxious attachment. So your partner, if they are anxious, may constantly be jealous of your friends, family, or even your exes. They may want to know who you're talking to and what you're doing at all times. So this can feel draining and frustrating for the partner of an anxious person who feels that they're being punished for something that they didn't do. The anxious partner's jealousy also sends the message that they don't think that their lover is trustworthy. Over time, their lover's frustration can become resentment and lead to spiteful acting out behaviors, like finally doing whatever the anxious person has accused them of doing. Number 4, they have low self-esteem. A lot of folks with anxious attachment also have low self-esteem. However, sometimes it's a paradoxical presentation because the anxious partner could be very capable in their career, feel very confident in their other relationships, and function as a generous and dependable partner when they are in relationships. However, deep down, they may constantly doubt themselves in their worthiness of love. They might believe that they're not good enough for you or that you will eventually leave them for somebody better. This insecurity can lead to saying that you're fine when you really aren't, having an inability to say no, need suppression, flimsy boundaries, fears of vulnerability, and being inauthentic in the relationship. That can lead to arguments and conflicts in the relationship, which triggers the anxious partner to turn the volume up even higher on these behaviors. Number 5, anxious folks typically need to be in control. An anxious partner may try to control the relationship and their partner's behavior. They want to know where you are at all times, who you're talking to, and what you're doing. They may also try to control your behavior, such as what you wear or how you spend your time. Sometimes they'll also express this need by attempting to make themselves indispensable to you. And why is that? Well, because they tend to believe that if you need them, you won't leave them. And that serves 3 important functions. Number 1, it lets them know that they have power in this relationship. Number 2, it clarifies for them what role they have to play in the relationship. And number 3, it explains why you love them. On the other hand, if you didn't need them, all those things come into question for them, and that feels very scary and uncomfortable for the anxious partner. Now, this need for control usually stems from a fear of abandonment and a need to feel secure in the relationship. However, this controlling behavior often has the opposite effect, as it can make a partner feel suffocated and trapped. And number 6, high expectations of themselves and of the relationship. The anxious partner may have high expectations for themselves and for their partners. They may expect their partner to be perfect and meet all of their needs without uttering anything. They may also expect the relationship to always be passionate, exciting, and conflict-free. If these expectations are not met, the partner may become disappointed, frustrated, or even resentful. Then they start to harp on the potential of the relationship rather than the reality of it, and they get lost in a fantasy of what the relationship should be, becoming critical and demeaning of their partners who cannot live up to those standards. So these are our 6 signs of anxious attachment. I'd like to take a pause here and ask, does your partner exhibit any of these behaviors? Do you? Let me know in the comments below and we can make more content like this. Okay, so next, how do we cope when our anxious partners demonstrate these behaviors or when we are demonstrating these behaviors? Well, here are 6 tips to help you cope with a partner that has anxious attachment style or to manage your own. Number 1, provide reassurance. If your partner is the anxious one and they are always seeking reassurance, try to provide it. This doesn't mean that you have to always be available to them or that you have to always agree with everything that they say. Instead, try to be understanding and patient. Let them know that you love them and that you're not going anywhere. To avoid overwhelm, make sure that you set healthy boundaries and agree on a reasonable amount of reassurance that you're both comfortable with. If you are the anxious partner, it is okay to ask for reassurance. That is a very human need. However, recognize when the reassurance you are seeking is something that your partner can actually provide, or if it's pointing out a deeper conversation that you need to have with yourself. Now, the second tip is to make sure there is a healthy amount of space in the relationship. Now, if your partner is always clingy, it's important to give them some space to discover their own passions and pursuits, as well as to remain connected to your own. This doesn't mean that you have to completely ignore them or that you can never be around them. Instead, try to find a balance between giving them space and being there for them when they need you. Also, when you need some time to be alone, be very clear about how much time you'll be taking and when they can expect to hear from you again. This clarity creates containment around the space and it alleviates anxiety. Now, if you are the anxious partner, recognize that it is really important for you to have your own independent hobbies, interests, and pursuits. It's also important to allow your partner space and time to pursue theirs as well so that you can both respect each other's autonomy in the relationship. This allows you to come back together with excitement and enthusiasm to share all that you have to offer from your authentic self. Now, the third step or tip is to be honest and communicate openly about your needs and expectations. This will help to build trust and prevent arguments. It's important to communicate openly and to avoid being secretive. Let them know how you're feeling and what your needs are with very specific positive action language. This will help to ease their anxiety and make them feel more secure in the relationship. The fourth tip is to validate their feelings. Now, if your partner is anxious, it's important to validate their feelings. Let them know that you understand how they're feeling and that their concerns are valid. Realize even if you don't relate to the situation, you can still relate to the emotional experience. For example, well, I may not feel as strongly as you do about that topic, but I do know what it's like to feel upset about something that's important to me, and I can understand how awful that must feel. Whatever you do, don't dismiss your partner's fears, minimize them, or try to talk them out of it with unsolicited advice, as this will only make them feel worse and it comes across as questioning their competency. Now, if you are the anxious partner, it is equally important to express your needs and your emotions authentically, preferably with specifics and positive action language. For example, "I want more affection" is a very vague statement. If you say, "I really enjoy physical affection, it makes me feel loved. Can we hold hands more in public, cuddle before bed, or have sex 3 times a week?" That's a way to give your needs more specificity, and therefore they are more likely to be met. The fifth tip is to encourage your partner to express their anxiety. Now, if your partner is always anxious, it's important to encourage them to express their feelings. And it can be done in a number of ways, such as through conversation, journaling, therapy, or even creative outlets. Other techniques for healthy expressions of anxiety include physical activity, relaxation techniques, breathing exercises, holistic approaches, massage, and things like that. Sometimes finding a safe place to even exaggerate the feelings that they are having can allow them to move along as well. The key is to finding what works for them and encourage them to do it on a regular basis. This helps to decrease the anxiety in their bodies so that they feel more in control of their thoughts and feelings. It also helps to build trust and intimacy in the relationship. And if you are the anxious partner, all of these modalities will work well for you in recognizing that anxiety is usually a very embodied experience. And so you want to make sure that you are blowing off some of that steam proactively so that it doesn't bleed into your relationship. Now, the last tip is to help them gradually face their fears. Now, if your anxious partner is always clinging for or reaching for something as a way to avoid their anxious feelings and fears, it's important to help them gradually face them. This doesn't mean that you have to force them into an uncomfortable situation, but try to encourage them to take small steps. Start with something little, like talking about their fears, and then work up to bigger things. For example, if your anxious partner has been wounded and is afraid that you're going to cheat on them, start by talking about what those fears are and then let them see your phone or social media. Help them to realize that their fear is not real and that they can trust you. This will help to lessen their anxiety and make them feel more secure in the relationship. Eventually, they will stop needing to snoop through your phone because they just trust that there's nothing to find. If this feels irritating to you because you feel like your phone should be your private space, just based on principle, then realize this is your pride talking and an aspect of you that is turning the relationship into a story about who has more control and power in the relationship, when it really should be a system of sharing and caring and wanting everyone to be at ease and to feel safe. The reality is, once you stop pushing against an idea like this, the less your anxious partner is going to be convinced that you're hiding something. Now, if you are the anxious partner, be willing to face your fears. Be willing to confront these ideas or limiting beliefs that you may have collected from past experiences, process them in proper outlets, particularly in counseling or some kind of coaching or sponsorship, and let it go. Try not to bring old baggage into your current relationship because otherwise that turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, in summary, if you're in a relationship with someone that needs constant validation while vying for your attention, is prone to jealousy, struggles with low self-esteem, often while appearing quite capable, needs to be in control, and blames themselves a lot due to high expectations of themselves and of their partners, then your partner is likely to have an anxious attachment style. If you see yourself in any of these descriptions, then you may be struggling with an anxious attachment style. Now, in that case, it's important to be patient and understanding with yourself and with your partner. Remember that they're not doing this on purpose, and their anxious behaviors are often coming from a place of insecurity and fear, as well as an overstimulated nervous system. By following these 6 tips, you can help your partner to cope with their anxious attachment style And you can also help to build a stronger and more secure relationship. This will allow the strengths of anxious attachment to really come out, which is a deep and abiding sense of empathy, understanding, and generosity in the relationship, a wonderful sense of effusiveness and creativity that can be brought to the relationships. All of these juicy qualities anxious partners bring to the relationship in abundance, and they can be really delicious when we're trying to build intimacy and romance. Now, if you want to know what your attachment style is for sure, I invite you to take the quiz in the link in the caption of this video. In only a few quick and easy questions, you will learn your attachment style and the unique strengths and growth challenges that come along with it. And lastly, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. I put out videos once a week, and I wouldn't want you to miss out.